Hello, everybody, and welcome back to WrestlingEpicenter.com and the interactive interview. On the Newsmaker line with us right now is the original rock and roller in professional wrestling, the one and only Buck Zumhofe. Buck, are you with us?
Very good. Hello, how are you tonight?
Good. We're doing great, and it's great to have you on the show. Been hearing a lot about your independent promotion up there, the Rock and Roll Wrestling, and basically, how you doing tonight?
Well, it's a funny thing, but, it's always when we wrestle, and I'm proud of it, not necessarily me, I believe because of our good wrestling fans all through America, all through the world, obviously. We here at Rock and Roll Wrestling are celebrating our 13th year in a row now without a weekend off, and I mean that by choice. We do that by choice. We try to wrestle every Friday, every Saturday, even run 2 or 3 towns in one night. We have my company has 4 wrestling rings or stages, whatever you want to call them. So we have the ability to run 2, 3, 4 shows in one evening. And I guess we live off a ring and a prayer. Thank God we're busier than heck. Awesome.
What do you attribute your success to?
Well, I believe, and I thank Vern Gagne for that, I believe that when my promotion calls a VFW or an American Legion or some organization that wants to fund or make money, I can say, yes, I am Rock and Roll Buck Zumhofe. I am legitimate. You've seen me on wrestling. I've been doing this for almost 40 years. I'm 2 years behind Ric Flair. I started in the same camp, the same training, the same business with Vern Gagne, and everybody heard and knows about that wrestling school where they beat the tar out of you. You bet. Ric Flair, Sergeant Slaughter, Playboy Buddy Rose, the list goes on, and I'm proud to say that I was one of them, along with Ricky Steamboat. He was in my camp that year, and also Scott Hogg Irwin, bless his soul. He's left us already for the big ring in the sky. But we were one of the 3 out of the many that came through that wrestling camp, and like I said before, we just came a year after Ric Flair, Greg Gagne, Jim Brunzell. So yes, I've been in this game for a long, long time, and that's what I think the reason that we are running is because, we're not, God, and I don't mean this bad, but we are not a bunch of nobodies out there trying to run some kind of a business that we don't know anything about. We've been in this business. I've been in this business. I'm 61. I've been in this business since I was 23 years old. So I like to believe me, of course, and my team and staff and all the people that work for me, we've got it under control, I guess.
Very cool. And is it still a family thing? Are you still doing it with your daughter?
Well, no, she decided a year ago that she's in her, women don't like to tell their age, but she's in her later 20s already. And unfortunately, I guess women get this idea that, boy, my girlfriends and my girls' friends in college and high school, by the time they're in their late 20s, they got 2, 3 kids. They got a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old. Well, my daughter has no family at all, and she's in her late 20s, and she decided that she's going to get out of the business for a while. Now, I do not believe that she's out of the business.
Does anybody ever really get out of the business?
No, you never have.
I was just going to ask that.
Right, that's true, too. About the time you think you're going to give it up, somebody calls you, and, well, it's either making the appearance or someplace you haven't been. That's why you want to go there, and, of course, it's always the money. Well, I mean, we have money, but it always seems like you can always use more, so that's the bottom line, obviously.
Very cool.
Now, for the wrestling fans out there who haven't checked out your promotion, what does your show offer that a bunch of other indie promotions out there don't?
Okay, well, here's, first of all, the biggest and important thing is that we sell fun.
Fun.
I don't try to promote even Vern Gagne's style of wrestling, and I'll tell you, and I shouldn't be telling people this because they'll take my method, but that's okay. When you go to a traditional wrestling match, let's get real, it's the good guy against the bad guy. And that's right. What Vern Gagne and Vince McMahon and God, and everybody's been selling it forever. We do the same.
Right.
But in our first match, the good guy, we have what you call a traditional wrestling match, good guy, bad guy. But our second match usually is the girl and the good girl and the bad girl, which is still pretty traditional. But then we wing it with either one of we have 2 midget ladies and we have a handful of midget men.
Really?
So then, yes. So the big deal is that we'll make an issue out of it. This may be tonight an intergender match. This little midget girl, little person, I don't want to offend anybody. they're standing up for their honor, so they're going to wrestle the little midget fellow in kind of a mixed-up tag, which is very entertaining. And then during the match, one of the other people, before the end comes up, one of the other big bad person chief jumps in the ring or something like that, and then finally you're going to have good midget girl wrestling with the good guy against the bad midget guy, who then is wrestling with another good guy. So you end up with some kind of a mixed-up tag team match.
Really?
And you can say whatever you want because I don't care what you say. We are booked so heavily, I can't find enough talent. We have so many shows. So if we're doing it wrong, and there's other promotions that think we're nuts, fine. You just keep doing the bad guy against the good guy is the first match. The bad guy against the good guy is the second match. The bad guy against the good guy is the third match. And the bad guy against the good guy is the fourth match. And the bad guy, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know.
And if you have talent that I believe my talent's really, really good, but they don't have television coverage. So if you don't have your guys on television regularly, so the audience knows who the villain is, knows who the good guy is, then you can sell that particular product. A lot of my boys have never been on television, so we have to go and re-educate the people that this show, you're going to spend your $10, $12, $15, $18, $20, $30, $40 tonight, but you're going to see some really good wrestling. Buck Zumhofe's going to wrestle this guy in an old-fashioned headlock takeover match. And then the beautiful girls are going to come in and they're going to give the other one a rikishi, and you're going to see a little rear end or something. Then the midget comes in and bites the girl in the butt and chases her around the ring. So we make the people go, ooh, ah, and laugh. Yep. And when the show is over, they come to us and they say they have never seen anything like this in their life, and they cannot wait for us to come back. That is the bottom line.
Very cool, very cool. Now, you've had your own, aside from your promotion, you've had your own storied career that's lasted, like you said, nearly 40 years, and I would like to talk to you a little bit about some of those memories. I guess the first thing I'd like to ask you about is, you're considered to be one of the premier top high flyers, the light heavyweights of the 80s and the 70s and the 80s. Now, when you see where it's at now with the TNA X division and things like that, what do you think of the progression of the light heavyweights and the high-flying tactics in wrestling and what they are today?
Well, I think it's a good deal. First of all, because you have, I can name even my guys, a kid named Sammy Savard, for an example. He's from South Dakota. He wrestles for me occasionally. I have what you call, if you look on my site, the Lockhart brothers. Now, that's the problem. They're 6 foot tall, 5'11", 190 to 210 pounds, but these are the guys that can do I'm not saying that a 280-pound guy cannot, but these are the guys that can still do the flying head scissors. Remember when Greg would give the guy, or whoever did it, would give a guy a flying head scissors, but at the same time he would have a headlock on the other guy, and he would pull both of them at the same time. Well, you hardly ever see that move anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So where the cruiserweight or the lightweight division comes in, I believe doesn't matter who cares, because I'm 61, I don't care. But if you want to elevate your show, then you need to do almost, and I'm plugging Vern Gagne, God bless his soul, he's still with us, but he's in very, very bad shape. It's really too bad. He was a great name and a great asset to our business, believe it or not. But Vern Gagne would start out the show, let's say, with the rookies, his rookie of the year. I remember when Steamboat and we opened up every goddamn night, everywhere, all through the Midwest. Ricky Steamboat, Buck Rock and Roll Zumhofe, rookie of the year, that kind of stuff. Right. Then finally, in the middle, he would have Greg and Jim wrestling someone else for these high-flying style matches. So even though you had a professional wrestling match, it was different, because the main event then was Mad Dog Vachon against the Crusher, Dick the Bruiser, Baron von Raschke. Now, you didn't see any wrestling at all in those matches. What they did is what we would call a hardcore or a cage-style match, where they literally kicked the crap out of each other. And I don't care what you say about wrestling back then. To this day, I was in on it. I have 4 of my front teeth are false. They're knocked out. They've been kicked out. The wrestling back then was it's the same nowadays, but back then it was more aggressive, and it was more rough, and it was more stiff. I wrestled Jerry Blackwell one night. Christ's sake, he hit me. I didn't wake up for 3 weeks. My goodness. But anyway, I'm just saying. And now we'll jump on the WWE a little bit. Yeah, it's good and it's tough, but boy, they kill themselves jumping off. They're tearing their heads off and all that crazy stuff. But they've taken the show business end of it, and wrestling has always been show business. But with Vern Gagne, you still had some pretty good solid matches. But now, they've taken the show business to the hilt. Holy balls. I thought there was a time when I carried a radio, people went crazy. That ain't nothing nowadays, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And one of the things you did that was part of entertainment early on was your matches with Bobby Heenan and the weasel suit and all that. And what are your memories of working with the great Bobby Heenan?
Well, I tell you what, I still to this day, how can you thank someone like that? I was I started 75, so in the spring of 1980, I came back from Honolulu. Now, in 1977, I started wearing the rock and roll suit, but it wasn't until the spring of 1980 when I came back to Minnesota where one of the boys mentioned that, you should have a cassette tape player or something. So we were thinking about, like a little tape player and putting it to the side. So and I had that big boombox at home, and I thought, well, hell, I'll just bring it along. That whole idea of carrying it on my shoulder and everything actually was a fluke. I mean, I just put it on my shoulder, and Gene Okerlund and everybody went nuts, started laughing, thought it was the craziest thing, and from that day on. But back to Bobby Heenan, even though I was in Texas and not Texas, but I was in Hawaii and in Vancouver and Portland and all over, I still, as far as the professional wrestling goes, I wasn't polished. I didn't quite understand the ring savvy and how to lead a match and how to lead a tag team or a six or do anything. And that's where Bobby Heenan and Ray Stevens and Nick Bockwinkel and all these guys. I wrestled all these guys every weekend someplace. And within a year or so, all of their tactics and all of their ways of wrestling, unless you're a complete idiot, you finally, wow, I see how this works. Wow, I've got it. But I'm in my 6th year of the business, and I finally realized that what it's all about. And thank God for that. I've carried that with me my whole career.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the rough training that you had, and you mentioned that it took you to the 6th year to fully get it. And I guess that kind of brings us to the modern day of wrestling. Do you think it's a little easier these days to get into wrestling? And do you think that
it's a lot easier?
Do you think the problem is today maybe don't have the experience and all that, and maybe that's why the product suffers a little bit? Maybe they don't have the polish that they should?
Well, here's what I did. I just put it in the internet last night. I'm looking for talent. You do radio. Somebody just asked me if I did radio. I'm on the radio right now, Pat. Pat Rose. I don't know who it is. But anyway, here's the problem. The man or the person or the company, not all of them. I don't want to get bit here. The majority of them don't care who you are or what you look like. As far as your wrestling ability, your size. I'm not picking on black or white or red. I got friends of every denomination and every color. I got friends, thank God for the wrestling business. I know everybody all over the place. Mm-hmm. But these guys, they see a $2,500 ticket or a $3,500 ticket, so they'll train this clown for 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever it takes just for the $3,500. When we went to camp, we had to pay a certain amount of money for 6 weeks. And if Vern Gagne didn't think we had what it takes, we didn't have to pay the other half of the amount. We were just done, period. No questions asked. Vern just kind of said to you, well, kid, I watched it for 6 weeks. I don't, I think you better go back to your job, bagging groceries or whatever you do, and this wrestling business is not for you. Nowadays, they would never say that because they're after the almighty dollar, and that's why we have a lot, not everybody, but we have a lot of guys in this business that should not be in the business. They have no business in this business, and it just tears me up. I haven't been there yet. I don't even know if I'm ever going to go. I'm still thinking about it. That business in Vegas, cauliflower ear, it's a wonderful thing. But one of the wrestlers asked, How many people here are wrestlers? And out of the whole couple, 200-300 people, almost 90% of them put their hands up. Wrestlers, wrestler for what? Or for who? It's too bad. There are the few out there, yeah, that have paid their dues and this and that. But if you got 300 people that come to this event, and one guy asked how many of you are wrestlers, and just about 90% of them said that they are wrestlers, and you don't even recognize them or ever seen them, it is actually too bad. Just my opinion. Doesn't mean anything.
Absolutely. And one of the guys that you came up with, you mentioned Steamboat and you mentioned Flair, but one of the guys you kind of helped yourself along the way was Hulk Hogan.
Right. Now, I'm not going to say that I helped him, but we all helped him. When he came up to Minneapolis, I think he worked in Florida and different places, but, he never really ever had a push. Now, being an opening wrestler and just getting your tail kicked every night of the week is a long shot different from being a main event, getting on television, cutting those interviews, and then wrestling with top talent. So you got Hulk. I like Hulk. I got nothing. Shit. He called me up. As a matter of fact, when he did that first reality TV show with the midgets, I sent him a bunch of my midgets down there, as a matter of fact.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Star of Love, she worked for me. She was, I don't know what the hell she was called on the show, but she was on that first one, on that Hulk Hogan reality thing with the midgets.
Yeah.
That
micro championship
That's
wrestling.
right, yep.
Yeah.
Star of Love works for me every weekend. She's a good little gal, and I keep her on the road, so she's always busy. But anyway, that was actually one of the last times I talked to him. I sent those kids down there for that. But anyway, the deal is that now, let's not even pick on Hulk Hogan, let's pick on anybody. We got some guy here, let's just say a guy, he's 6'8", he's got the look, he's got the walk, he's got the talk. Now we want to put him into some kind of a top position. So it isn't just me, but Greg Gagne and Jim Brunzell and myself and everybody that's in the locker room, who has to tag up with him or who has to referee the match or whatever, you have to go to Hulk Hogan or you have to go to whoever this person is, and we have to hope that they're willing, to listen and learn. If you would, and he did. He wanted to learn. He wanted to be part of the business. He seen, he's not a fool. He could see the money and the stardom and all the stuff that was going to happen to him. But before he took that second step, he had to learn how to take the first steps, and he did. And I'm pretty proud of that. I think I helped him quite a bit. Those first matches we had is when my radio got busted on television. Hulk Hogan came in and saved the day.
Right.
So then me and Hulk, we hooked up, and then me and Hulk and Tito hooked up, and then Tito and Hulk hooked up because single matches, tag team matches, and six-man tag teams came out of that thing by the galore. I mean, we were booked for almost 3 years because of that one angle. So it was a great thing for everybody in real life.
Very cool. You made a big trip down. Sorry, Pat, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, you talked about working with Hulk Hogan very early in his career, and I was reading up about you, and I read that you were the first person to be body bagged by The Undertaker, and you wrestled Triple H in his debut with the WWF. Did you picture them becoming the big stars that they eventually became?
Well, yeah, I think so. Well, let me see. The Undertaker, the Undertaker, as far as I'm concerned, or anybody's concerned, unless he retires pretty soon, he's locked into the WWF like milk and cereal, I guess. They'll always be there. And Triple H, well, where he's at now, he runs the show. As a matter of fact, I don't think I'm ever going to get anything anymore, but god dang it, I still wrestle every god darn weekend. I wrestle personally about 130 times a year. I still crawl in the ring every night, along with putting it up and taking it down and putting up the lights and the beer stand. And God, we do it all because we're, a little small organization. So we do it all. But I always wish maybe I got that one big last hurrah where I could manage somebody or one. Who doesn't? Everybody that's in professional wrestling, once they have that last big hurrah, boy, and I'd like to get a hold of old Triple H, say, hey, I'm the one that puts you over on TV, god dang it, you owe me one. And then that silly article that came up in the newspaper in that wrestling WWF thing about me, I thought it was kind of comical that they mentioned my name on the TV show, and all my goddamn computer I thought was going to explode. I had so many people. Did you hear your name on their TV? Did you hear your name? I said, well, I don't think it had really anything to do with anything. It just came up. But it was kind of comical because I got flooded with messages and stuff all about that.
Very cool. Yeah, they put your match with him on one of your DVDs, one of his DVDs, I should say. So that's pretty. Hopefully, you got a royalty check out of that one.
Oh yeah, you bet. Yeah. Well, well, I'm going to tell you that, and I don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Like I said before, I kind of like where I'm at because I say what I say, and if somebody's offended, I don't care. But what are you going to do? Come beat me up? I'm 61 years old. Give it your best shot. This is one thing I'll say about Vince McMahon. All the many times that I wrestle for him in dark matches and in these other matches where, I had to do what I had to do, he never stiffed me. I always got what I got coming. He always took care of our room. He took care of our trance. He paid us, and he was cordial to me. I don't know about anybody else, but he was cordial to me. He'd always thank me. He'd say, Buck, you did a good job. And I always told him, if you need a guy or a couple of guys, I have all kinds of people that will work. You give me a jingle, and I'll be more than happy to take care of you. So I have never, ever left the WWE or the WWF with bad words or I hate you or you screwed me, nothing like that. I always shook his hand. I always thanked him. He was always cordial to me, regardless what people think about it. I don't care what people think about him because it doesn't matter to me. But he was always fair to me.
Very cool. Now, you worked for some of the biggest promoters ever. Vince McMahon, we just mentioned, Vern Gagne, another. You also worked for the Von Erichs in World Class. And was that a fun experience to be down there in that Dallas territory?
Well, the thing about the Von Erichs is that, I knew where I was. I accepted it. I knew we would never, ever, Iceman King Parsons and I were the Texas Tag Team Champions. The Long Riders put us over on that show in Texas where
How is King Parsons doing, by the way?
I type him all the time, and I never hear anything. I don't know if he's really disgusted with the business, and he doesn't want to have nothing to do with it anymore. There's only two things that can happen. Either you're so busy you don't have time to get back, or you're disgusted with everything that's going on, and you don't want to get back. Usually that's all it is.
Very cool. Sorry for interrupting.
So I'm hoping that he's busy. I type him now and then and say, hey, Iceman, give me. I'd actually like to bring him up here and book him on some of my shows, but he doesn't get back to me, so I don't know. And that's Steve. What's his name? The kid I used to have the lightweight championship matches against. Regal, not Steve Regal. The Steve Regal from Indiana.
Yeah, that's Steve Regal. Not the Englishman, but the other guy. Yeah.
Right. And I'd like to get a hold of him too and bring him up here. I think if we would do some shows, in the suburbs of Minneapolis, St. Paul, I think that people would probably enjoy seeing a good old, we would, it'd be a return of some kind of a cruiserweight type style match. But I haven't heard much from him neither, so I don't know,
I'm sorry for interrupting. What were you saying about you were under no illusion down in World Class? You knew where you were?
Oh, yeah. I was saying is that, I knew, you see, the Freebirds were there.
Right.
And they had all the angles going against, they even brought old man Fritz back out, for that Super Bowl Sunday thing. And they had all the things going on with all the Von Erichs. So I knew that as far as up the ladder I would ever be would be with Iceman, and we wrestled the Long Riders. And remember the PYTs?
Yeah.
Norvell, Austin,
Coco
and Coco. They broke my radio down there, so we did that same bit. They busted the radio, and I chased them all over the place to get revenge. Boom, boom, boom. As a matter of fact, I don't remember which birthday it was, but it was my birthday, and about 30, 40 fans pooled their money, and they bought me a great big boom box. I got that on tape someplace. But I mean, as far as main event matches, we were the main event matches all through the territory. All through the territory except Dallas and Fort Worth, because we would go down to San Antonio, and we would go down to Corpus and all them other towns, and then Iceman and myself, we would be like the main attraction, because the Von Erichs, they monopolized Dallas, Fort Worth, and they didn't really care about those other towns. So we knew that we were going to be the main eventers, and we were going to make the money we were going to make, and that's all the higher up the ladder we were going to get. There's no way I never wrestled Kerry or Kevin or any of them, because they had their own thing going with with the Freebirds. So we knew where we were at in the show, so we didn't bite nobody's fingers. We didn't bite the hand that fed us, and I made my money. I was there for about 18 months,
right? Yeah.
about a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very cool.
And then I came back to Minnesota, and then that's when the hard times come, because that's about the same time that Hogan pulled out from Vern, and then AWA from that day on obviously went down.
And that actually was kind of my next question. The late era of the AWA, you still can see it on TV now on the ESPN Classic. They still throw it up.
People call me and they still see some of my matches on there. It's comical a little bit, I guess.
But I mean, when you watch those, the commentator at the time was Eric Bischoff, and
right.
Bischoff, some of the times he sounded like he had a kind of like a male crush on you at times. He was rock and roll Bug Zumhofe, rock and roll.
I don't think so. He's never booked me for TNA.
That's what I was going to say. Why, with this guy who sounded like he sure as heck liked you a whole lot, how come you ended up at WCW or TNA?
I've tried to get a hold of what's his name with the tennis racket.
Jim Cornette.
Jimmy Cornette. Yeah, I used to wrestle with his guys in Texas all the time. And and not only that, but I type him on the internet, say, if he wants, I got a kid I use quite a bit. We call him the Big Rig. He's legitimate, 7'1", 450 pounds. I use him, I suppose maybe two weekends out of every month. He's an excellent worker. He's like around 30 years old. He's as big as anybody on the WWF. And like I said before, I got those Lockharts. Now they're both a little smaller, but there's nobody. My Lockharts are just exactly like, who's the Rock and Roll Express? What was their name?
Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson.
Nope. Try the other one. The one that's in New York.
Shawn Michaels, Marty Jannetty.
That's it. Shawn, my kid is a spitting image of the Shawn Michaels.
There you go.
They're not related or anything. He's got the long hair. He's got the thin kind of, but you can see his little abs, and he's got little muscles, but he can do all of that stuff. I use him he has wrestled with me every weekend at least for the last 3 years. Every weekend.
Oh, very cool, very cool. And your roster is impressive. People can check it out. Is it Rock and the letter N?
Yeah, it's R&R, right? Just the 3 letters.
RNRWrestling.com, right?
Yep, .com. Yep, RNRWrestling.com. Now, here's something that we're willing to do. I mean, if there's somebody, a fair board or somebody, because my team we have a team, so we're not everybody, that's all we do is wrestle. We go out a lot of times on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. As a matter of fact, I don't know if anybody's ever done this before. I may be wrong. But I had 8 guys on a show here about 3 weeks ago, and we had 4 shows on Saturday night. I had 4 different venues going. I had 32 guys on the road, 4 referees, 4 sound crews, 4 trucks, the whole works. We did outstanding. One night, we did her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of shows.
I don't even think most places run like 2 shows a night, but I got, like I said, I got 4 wrestling rings, and I had to buck out 2 of the rings. I had to rent some trucks because we just put the rings up on the trailers. So we had 2 trailers out and 2 what do you want to call them? Those big trucks that haul the stuff around.
Yeah, ring trucks. Yeah.
Yeah, ring trucks. There you go. But yeah, well, like I said before, I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to be a smart ass. We got good fans. I got a good show. We've got girls, midgets, giants, Rock and Roll Buck Zumhofe. I occasionally, because I am in Minnesota, I occasionally bring in Greg Gagne, Jim Brunzell, the Baron von Raschke. These are, for me, they're kind of like local people, so I can bring them in pretty handily. We bring in,
how's Greg doing, by the way? Is he?
Greg is very good. Yeah, heck yeah. He likes to crawl in the ring during the main event and throw a drop kick still.
All right.
Well, we bring in, I had the Honky Tonk Man in, January, it's the 8th month. So about every other month I bring in the Honky Tonk Man, usually for a 3 or 4 banger.
See, now that's ironic. I got to say, that's ironic because you started wearing the jumpsuit well before they brought in the Honky Tonk Man, and I kind of was going to ask you, what was your impressions when you saw the WWF bringing a guy wearing?
Oh shit! I was mad as hell. At first, I never. This is funny because the Honky Tonk Man and I are pretty close. He's a little younger than me, But him and I started at the same time. He was up in Calgary when I was in Vancouver.
Right.
Like in the early 70s, late 70s. So he's been in the game, or him and I have been in the game at the same amount of time. We just never were in the same territories. Remember when they had territories?
Right.
So we just never were in the same territories. And then when he came along with the thing, well, I didn't blame him necessarily. I was a little teed off at Vince because, well, if you want a rock and roll guy, here I am. But I, through it all, and God, this sounds crazy. I mean, really, if you think about it. Through it all, if Vince wouldn't have taken and more or less redesigned wrestling, is what he did. I mean, he took it all.
Right.
And if Vern Gagne and if that wouldn't have happened, then Vern Gagne would still be existing today. Are you with me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then if that's true, Greg Gagne or Nick Bockwinkel or somebody would be running All-Star Wrestling or the AWA, right?
Right.
Now, if that was true, then I would be an employee of All-Star Wrestling or AWA. So through it all, once upon a time, I thought this was the worst, horrible thing that Vince ever did. But I like to look at it through the rose-colored glasses. If Vince would have never did what he did, then I wouldn't be here today. And don't get me wrong, but I'm happy where I'm at. I got an office. I got 4 rings. I got a garage, a great big warehouse garage. If I have to, if I get a couple young midgets, or I get a giant or someone who I think is going to make me money and he's going to be special just for me, I will put the ring up in my shed back, my big barn back here, and I will train him myself. Now, I'm not training him to go onto the road or go to Vince or go to Japan. I am training him to work for me. So what I'm saying is I've got all that. I've got the trucks, and I got the rings, and I got a beautiful home. I got an apartment or 2 I rent out. And all of this has happened since I started my own wrestling.
Right.
So I'm very, very grateful for just the way it is. Vince can have all them big towns, and he can have all those headaches, and he can do all that crap, while little rock and roll Buck Zumhofe, we're going to run our bars. If the bar has a dance hall in the back room and they can hold 300-400 people, we're going to go there. VFWs, American Legions, fundraisers for fire departments, fundraisers for rescue squads. We go to Sturgis. We go to motorcycle rallies all over up here, 5-6 states. We're so busy we can't turn around fast enough. Thank God.
You know, one of the things I loved, and I mentioned to you that I watched one of your interviews prior to this interview, I love that you pointed out that if you work an event that has a low ceiling, you have a ring that has a low mat.
Right.
We actually have here in Arizona, it's no longer running, unfortunately, a company that often played a local bar, and one of the very few local wrestlings in Arizona. Unfortunately, it's a very barren area around here. Anyway, they had the top rope, and when you stand on the top rope, the guys' heads were hitting the roof. So I mean, it's an inventive idea to plan for your surroundings.
Right. Well, not only that, but what I would call my midget ring. Are you sitting down?
Uh-huh.
The midget ring is 10 foot square.
Wow.
And the other ring is 12 foot square. The other ring is 14, and the other ring is 16. So not only that, but all these rings are different sizes. We called it pyramid wrestling a couple of times.
Right.
I put my 10 foot ring inside the 16 foot ring and had a battle royal. So when if you fell out of the 10 foot ring into the 16 foot ring, you're still in the ring. So you had to jump down into the lower section and then take the guy and throw him out of the ring, out of the other section. So if you had your arms and you were holding on to the second rope, which is inside the ring, you could put the guy's feet over the top rope, which is on the outside, and then you could jump off the top rope, which is on top of the second ring, and give the guy an elbow or drop a leg on him while he's hanging on the ring ropes. It's unbelievable. We did about a dozen of them.
That's a cool idea, really. I'm surprised nobody else is doing it.
Well, we've done some of it, but it's like, boy, you got to bring in 2 trucks and you got to load up 2 rings, and it's a lot of work. But we did all right with it, but it's a pain in the butt. That's why unless somebody really really wants it, then we do it. So we kind of left that alone. But it was heck something to see. I mean, it looks great on tape. The ring inside the ring, the whole bit, it's unbelievable.
Pat, what were you saying?
Hello?
No, I was just saying, Vince might take that idea.
There you go. Vince might try it, yeah. Well, see what we've done that too, that 2-ring battle royal where you put the 2 rings alongside each other,
Yeah, like but WCW used to do that.
Right. Yeah. So what happened? We were going to do that, and then I realized. I said to the boys, I said, you know what? That damn little ring will fit inside there. Ha ha ha. So we gave it a try, and sure enough, we scored on it a couple of times, but
cool.
we just never promoted it that much.
All right. Well, I got to tell you, it's been great talking to you so far, and I'm going to let you go in just a second, but I got a couple questions left for you if you have a few more minutes for us.
Absolutely.
All right. I guess, again, it kind of plays on the no regrets kind of thing, but when you were working all those matches for the WWF, were you hoping that there'd be, more of a spot for you there, or was that
absolutely. I still wish, this seems crazy, but I'm trying to be, our game, to be a big mouth and a crazy guy with a radio, and then on the other hand try to be modest doesn't make a lot of sense.
Okay.
But I'm trying to be modest. I've been in this game for 40 years. I know how to talk. I know, I can do all of that. I wish that maybe somebody find 2 young guys that can do the drop kicks and do the flying. Heck, I'll come on there. I'll wear my rock and roll suit. I'll wear a suit and a tie, whatever it takes. I'll go, baby, I got Mutt and Jeff here. They're the 2 best high flyers. And, if I want to be a heel or a babyface, it doesn't matter to me. I still wish, just like everybody else in the world of wrestling, I still wish that I, got that one, maybe 6 months yet, one last hurrah. Who doesn't? You got these guys who, look at all them guys that are in the WWF for, 2 or 3 years or whatever. Unless they're dead or they bought a bowling alley, there's something about this business. When you're in it, like you said before, you're in it. You're in it for life. Unless I guess the bottom line is, if you didn't love it in the first place, then once you leave it, okay, you'll survive. But if you love this stuff like I do, I love professional wrestling.
Right. You
can't leave it. I'm going to be 62 years old, and people say, well, what, are you going to give it up? You're going to retire? Probably not. I'll probably be 72 years old. If God gives me the will and I can still walk and throw drop kicks, God damn it, I'll still be wrestling,
Very cool. Well, Bobby Heenan, early on, I've been doing this about 10 years, and early on I interviewed Bobby Heenan, and he gave me a couple quotes. Some of them I can't say on the air, but one of them I can, and one of them was that if you truly love this business, you'll be doing this forever. And you know what? 10 years later, I could say he's right. So.
Yeah, I agree 100%, because I don't want to say this sad, and I don't want to bring it up or nothing again, but earlier tonight when you started the conversation, you said it being a family business. I don't want to really, get into it. But my daughter, see, she was going through college and all of that.
Right.
And it was a good way for her to make money, along with me, to help with the college fund and all of that.
Right.
So, and she always made it sound like she wanted to do this forever,
Right.
But I think in her heart, she maybe wanted to satisfy Daddy. And then after a while, when the money, because the college she's over, she has her degree, she can go out and get any kind of a job. So I believe that, and I'm sad. It broke my heart. I'm telling you, I'm still sad about it. But I think she was just pleasing Daddy. So she told, I love wrestling, and boy, Dad and I, we have all these good times, and we travel all over, and we did. But when it came down now, when the school is over and all of that, in her heart, I think she wanted to make Daddy happy, and she did. And I'm so happy for the years that we did work our wrestling together. And now she's in a different venture, and she has her own little life, and God bless her, and I'm doing this, and she'll do what she does, but I'll be doing this forever. So what he's going to do.
I didn't mean to bring you down. I apologize if I did.
No, it's all right. It's just kind of a sad thing. For some unknown reason, I thought I was going to retire and maybe she was going to marry Triple H or something. And
I think that role's already taken. So.
I know it. I was being sarcastic.
All right. Well, I got one last name, and for some reason, I've always wondered your opinion of this person because they've always been such a powerful force along with Vern Gagne. Probably because he ironically married the daughter as well. Larry Zbyszko. How do you get along with Larry?
To tell you the truth, I like Larry. I think he's I haven't seen him work in a long time, but he's fabulous on the microphone.
Absolutely.
And you have to believe that the majority of the tickets sold at the wrestling show are off the microphone,
Right.
Probably even more than the actual wrestling on television. I think he's a terrific talker. I wrestled with him many, many, many times in the AWA, not anywhere else.
Right.
And I've always had extraordinary matches with him because he has all the in our lingo he has all the heat because of his personality and the way he talks, and I have all the sympathy of the people because they love me because I'm rock and roll. So it didn't matter if it was a big arena or a high school fundraiser. It didn't matter where I wrestled Larry Zbyszko. It was always a very, very fun, exciting, good, tear the house down style match. So I have nothing bad. I don't really have nothing bad to say about, 95% of the wrestlers. I think most of them most of us are in it for ourselves. We want to make a living, so we try to get as much money as we can. But what's wrong with that?
Absolutely.
Some guys have a little higher opinion of themselves than they do of other people. Well, you got to shake that off. That's just because that's the kind of people we deal with.
Right.
People with a low opinion of themselves. People that go, and I don't know, and I don't, da-da-da. They're never, ever going to be in this profession. You're going to have to deal with these kind of people,
Right.
That's the way it is.
Absolutely. Pat, did you have anything last to ask?
No, that's it for me, but thank you for spending all this time with us. It was very good.
Well, I enjoy. I guess what I'm still trying to do is promote my wrestling show. So anytime anybody gives me a jingle, it's all about rock and roll wrestling.
RNRWrestling.com, right.
RNRWrestling.com. And the bottom line is that in real life, I have a dozen or more wrestlers, like I said before, guys, girls, midgets, giants, you name it. And now all of these people, they have husbands or wives or boyfriends, girlfriends. They have kids. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that you bet I have to go out and I have to make money in my company. But the money is not all mine. I got responsibility here. I got people that, they're going to chase and drive with me all night long and hang around me for 3 or 4 days. We have to have money to take care of all these people. So when the opportunity comes to advertise rock and roll wrestling, R&R wrestling, you bet. I'm out here. I'm a businessman. I have people to take care of. I got bills myself. So as far as that goes, we're going to keep plugging away and doing whatever it takes to keep rock and roll wrestling alive. And I appreciate guys like you to help me out. Thank you very much. Hey, this is Buck Rock and Roll Zumhofe. Do like I do. Listen to Interactive Interview every chance you get. Thank you.